I'm a lion, I'm a hunter, eyes on the prey. I'm the shadow, I'm the night, and I'm the day.
Right, what's happening, guys? This is week 1 of my new bulking series that will be running from now until the end of March. So it's about 15 and a half, 16 weeks. So today we're going to be running through a full upper body session. So we are starting with some push exercises. So we'll be starting incline dumbbells, then hitting shoulders, then into some back, some isolation for those 3, and then some biceps and triceps at the end. Now, the aim behind this series is to document my progress from week 1 to week 16. The main goals for me are to add as much new tissue as possible and to add as much strength as possible. They are correlated. This program will be more tailored a little bit, I would say more for size. As I say, there is correlation between the two. There will always be some kind of overlap. A lot of people think that if you do anything under 6 reps, that it's purely solely strength. And if you do anything above 6 reps, it's just size. That's not the case. Throughout this series, we will be documenting my training, my nutrition, but also in each video running through a different topic that relates to why I'm doing what I'm doing. A lot of my answers to the videos will be, or the topics that I'm covering will be, it's always a balance. So if someone asks me a question, they go, is this better or is that better? Is it better to train once a week or to train biceps twice a week? Well, it always depends what context that is in. For some individuals, it might be better to train once, for some twice. But we will cover pros and cons to both so that you can come to the conclusion yourself. Listen, I think we'll cut that intro there. I will be talking a lot in between sets about different stuff, so try and keep up. We will get started. I've just got a pre-workout now. Let me show you pre-workout quickly. This is always my go-to. You've probably seen this in a previous video. That's my go-to. That's the best pre-workout for me. And I'm mixing it with some of this by Rich Piana. I've had a scoop and a half of that and 1 scoop of Mesomorph. I've had 1 meal this morning. Morning weight this morning, so the start of my bulk, I was 96 kilos. So remember that, 96 kilos week 1, then we'll compare it to week 16. And then from April onwards, we will be starting a cutting series. So enjoy the ride. Today's session, as I said earlier, will be a full upper body session. We are going to be starting with incline dumbbell press because for this bulk, I really want to bring up my upper chest and my delts. So if I was to plan a full upper session like I'm today, then I would start with what I want to focus on most, because that's obviously when I'm going to have the most energy. So incline dumbbell first, and then we move into dumbbell shoulder press. Take that, 8 reps, 63.5 kilos. This week, or this next 2 weeks, just finding out my starting points for the top sets. So when I retest in week 16, you can see how much strength I've put on each lift. So there's your starting point for an incline dumbbell press. Obviously, I won't be fresh for the following movements. Fatigue is cumulative throughout the workout. So a lot of people, like I said at the beginning, you want to start with what you want to work on most because you have the most energy. But just because you fatigue through a workout and you end up doing pull-ups at the end, for example, doesn't mean you can't progress on pull-ups. Just next time you do them pull-ups, make sure you're in the same fatigue state as you was the time before. If you get 2 reps more, or 10 kilos extra on your weighted pull-up in the same fatigue state as you did 16 weeks ago, you're stronger. Again, always compare one lift to the other in a fair fashion. If you're in a fatigue state, match it in 16 weeks to the fatigue state. If you were fresh like I am today, so I hit 8 at 63.5, by week 16 I smoked those for 12 to 15. So, with a lot of my movements, I'm used to moving things explosively. I've actually, throughout the years, got a lot of sticking points in certain movements. So, I've got a weak point where, at the midpoint of my lockout, just before my lockout, my triceps are quite weak, my biceps are quite dominant. So I've been doing a lot of work on my triceps. You can see there, I grinded that out not too bad, but I'm not used to that. Some people are good at grinding it out. Some people just get up and fail it. That's how sometimes with my squats. People say to me, oh, you had loads left in the tank. No way, I know where failure is. I can make 10 look easy and then fail the 11. But again, it's just learning about your strengths and weaknesses. So that tricep work has helped there. So I'm happy with that. I think that was 8 at 63.5, 12, and then 10 at the 55s. And then we're moving to dumbbell shoulder press now. Obviously, everybody knows by now, or if you don't, that's why this channel is here, but progressive overload is the key to hypertrophy, to getting bigger, stronger. There's so many ways to do so. More weight, more reps, more sets, less rest time, slower tempo. For me, the top two are going to be more weight and more reps. But with all of the methods of progressive overload, there's a point of diminishing returns. So for example, sets. Okay, cool, so I could do another one set of that next week. That's an increase or a progression. If I did that for 16 weeks, I'd be doing 16 sets of dumbbell shoulder press. There's a point of diminishing returns. So the first two are the most important. More weight, more reps. Again, more reps to a point. 12 to 15, then look to increase the weight by 5%. Start at 5, 6, 7 or 8 and then work your way back up. Same with tempo. Yeah, I can, so for example, say I just hit that for 8, a 1-0-1 tempo, meaning just 1 down, 1 up. If I can get 8, doing a 3-second eccentric, 2-second concentric every rep, there's more time under tension there because of the slower tempo with the same weight for the same reps. That is a progression. But I could take that one step too far and do a 10-second eccentric on every rep. Benefits by that point are not there as much as they were the first time that you increased or slowed the tempo down. So be very careful and mindful of which form of progressive overload you choose. You don't have to do all 4, 5 or 6 principles at once, maybe just stick with one. For me, I want to increase the reps by the end of this 16 weeks. So, as I say, today, there's the 63.5 on the incline for 8. I'll get 12 to 15 by the end of the 16 weeks. That will bring new tissue in the upper pecs, the triceps and the shoulders. Just feels like you've got really heavy nutsack. I'm focusing more so on contracting the muscles to move, as opposed to the previous set where I was just moving it as explosively as possible. I can feel my target muscles a little bit more than with the weighted, but did the weighted bit stimulate more hypertrophy than the slower tempo body weight? Again, it's having a mixture, it's having a good balance. So when I'm doing the dips, I'm having a little bit of forward lean at the bottom, not going too deep so it doesn't put too much pressure on your rotator cuffs and shoulder area. Be very careful in this movement. If you're new to it, start doing assisted banded dips, because if you haven't got the strength from that bottom position, you can rip a rotator out, or you don't want to be doing that, going down fast and jolting and jerking around until you've learned it slowly. Learn it slowly under control, get the target muscle firing up. So start doing them like that with a band, slow down, controlled up, pec for the first half of the movement from there to there, then triceps kicking in the top half of the movement. Then when you start going into the weighted bits, you've got that technique where you are able to do it a little bit faster to move a little bit more weight. On to pull-ups now. One set warm-up, and then we go into the weighted stuff. I'm definitely feeling thicker and fuller than I did. When I did my promo video, which was back in October, I believe, I was just coming out of my cut for my photo shoot. I did have a couple of weeks where I binged, I'm not gonna lie. Lots of calories, maybe about 5k a day sometimes. But now I've tapered it down, so I'm on about 3,200 at the moment. I'm definitely feeling fuller and thicker. I had a little bit of a deload. So I'm ready to hit this training block hard, like really hard. If I need a mini deload 8 weeks in, because I overreach a little too early, so be it. For me, because I'm not competing yet, or there's not a specific date that I have to look a certain way by, or perform a certain way, I can still be relaxed about my training. That doesn't mean I'm not putting in 100% intensity, like people that are competing. I'm training just as hard as those. But I haven't got necessarily an end goal, but this is my goal now, is documenting my bulk and my cut. That's a goal for me. Even though I'm not stepping on stage, it doesn't mean that I won't treat it like I'm not, do you know what I'm trying to say? So the intensity is there every session for me. Obviously, the launch of my online services back in the first lockdown in March, we can probably ping up some screenshots of my clients, couldn't we? You can see some of my transformations. I have to lead from the front with my clients. If you've got a coach, you need your coach to be working at 100% all the time, looking to develop their knowledge, physique or strength, whatever their niche is. So I will never slack in this game, ever. This is my life. See, they're dead stop T-bar rows. One reason I'm doing that is because, one, as I said about my lower back fatigue, if I was doing normal T-bar rows, not allowing the plates to touch the floor each rep, the position that I'll be holding will be too much stress on my lower back for now. So doing dead stop today. Again, it's good to build explosiveness from the floor. You'll see that as I'm in position, each rep around the lumbar and the upper spine, then I get into position, then row. That allows me to make sure that I have the right technique each rep, even towards the end of the set. I always say to people, my clients, imagine you've got a piece of string from the bottom of your neck to your lower spine. You're trying to connect them together by pinching the lats back, retracting, depressing the scapula. So retraction, depression. My lats are locked in now. My back's not hyperextended, but again, that's locked in here. Get in that position, drive your elbows back. That's the finishing position you want to be in. Some people like to have this position here when doing pen lays or dead stop. Some people go really heavy, come up a little bit higher. Again, have a mixture. Sometimes I do heavy bent over rows. I'm treating it like it's nothing. I'm just trying to ragdoll it around. Whereas with something like this, there's more control and there's more thought going into it. My upper back is really pumped from that exercise actually. It's quite a nice little pump, especially post pull-ups as well. So one more set, and I'll put another plate on, just because, and then we'll move on. Again, there's a couple of ways you can perform the side raises, right? You'll probably find if you go too heavy and you start swinging, nothing too much wrong with that. You know, again, you've got two types of people. Some people want to load it up, use a little bit of body English, get some weight in. As long as it's not excessive, that is fine. And then you've got the people that want to do it super strict, lightweight. Again, I choose to do both. If you're doing the lighter variant, I like to get a bit of a lat spread going and just a little bit of a partial movement, and I really feel that more in the side delt, just for this angle here, so not too high. As you come up, that's when the trap involvement starts to occur. Again, there's no issue with that if you want to build your traps, fine. But for me, today we're just going light, focus on the movement, hit the lat spread first, a couple of side raises, 10 to 15 reps, 3 sets. Neglect isolation movements for the upper body. So back in my old training days, because I was so very pro compound, I still did isolation, but I didn't do the isolations with the same intensity as I performed the compounds, and that has led to imbalances and slight aesthetic issues. So I treat my isolation movements like I treat my compounds now. 100% effort on every set. Today's session, I know we haven't finished yet, but I just want to say it's been intense-ish, but remember it's week 1. I'm not going to blow my load too early. I've got 16 weeks to taper up my calories, my cycle, to peak for that week 16. So it's been heavy-ish today, but again, it's just finding out my starting points this week or within the next 2 weeks. And then we start hitting it hard and the intensity increases as time goes on. So. Definitely triceps are a weak point for me. Again, I used to focus a lot on the compounds when I was pushing and pulling. Used to do like 3 sets at the end of a session of biceps or triceps. So plan of action, well, for this past 6 months and from now onwards, I'm going to be hitting them twice a week minimum, and 1 day will be an arm day. But for a novice, I would still hit them twice a week, biceps, triceps, but I'd still do them at the end of your push and pull sessions, just because I think you haven't built enough size and muscle everywhere else in your body. I see a load of people hammering arms like twice, 3 times a week, and they're not getting any bigger. Same with everything, you want progressive overload on your arm movements, but I still feel like you should try and build your whole body, your arms will follow. Like I said, with the weighted dips and the pull-ups, your arms get stimulated big time, even though it's not directly focused on the arms. You're moving enough weight where you're getting a bit of a splashover effect as such. When you're doing the heavy dips, your triceps have to work. When you're doing underhand chin-ups weighted, they have to work. Then finish your arm work at the end of a session. As you get more advanced, yeah, you might need to refine a little bit and actually have an arm day. Plus, it's a bit less fatiguing. Growing up, as I used to squat a lot. I used to do like 2-3 heavy leg days a week. Now I'm kind of focusing more on bringing my upper body up. As I said earlier, I don't want to build my legs. It is very fatiguing training squats 3 times a week, deadlifting twice, doing normal deadlifts and then a variant of deadlifts later in a week. It's very fatiguing. So when you do get to your arm days or your upper body days, you feel smoked. Whereas now, I still train arms hard, but it's not fatiguing on your nervous system whatsoever. And it feels great. Everyone wants big arms, right? I hope you enjoyed that training session. We covered quite a lot there because obviously it was full upper. So you've got a couple of chest movements, shoulder movements, back movements. There was a bit of arms in there. I touched on a couple of topics in between sets, which will be touched on down the line in more detail. Otherwise this session would have dragged out for ages if I was talking about each topic. So we will cover things like frequency of muscle groups, tempo, etc. in the future. But today I hope you enjoyed that, and stick around because we have a video coming up next, and it will probably be something similar to today, but we're likely to be training legs at Muscleworks, so that's going to be a big one. So I hope you all enjoyed. Any questions about anything that I've touched on in the video, shoot me a DM or on Instagram, or simply leave a comment in the YouTube comments. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll be seeing you around soon.